All right, so said I would do a video on my loader and just some of the things that I ran into when I was tractor shopping, and some of the different numbers I found, and then trying to relate that to real world. What can you actually do with those numbers? I had a hard time doing that, so hopefully this will help clear things up if you're like me and trying to figure this out. Just a note, this isn't a Kubota advertisement or anything. Get what you like and be happy with it and get some work done. So this is just trying to kind of put some perspective on numbers, is all. So anyway, let's get down to it. I'm starting to lose light here a little bit, but hopefully this turns out okay. So you can kind of see what I got on here, which is about a 9-foot log that's roughly, I think it was 18 inches on the long side, bark to bark. Yeah, 18 and a half or so. You can kind of see it's not a small log. Actually, not even the biggest one over here. That's probably the biggest one there in the middle. These guys are what? I'll just go to the big one here. This guy is 22 inches roughly diameter. So these are not small logs. They're all about the same, between 8 and 10 foot. I brought these up from my neighbor's property, who was clearing some land down the hill a couple 100 yards, so kind of dragging them out from some steep areas. I did it all with the loader on this thing. Didn't really have any problems with it. Now, one thing I would say that I wish I had more of on a day-to-day basis is curlback. And curlback is like for forks, for example, where you can lift back this way. You can see these cylinders are pretty much I think it's at the maximum right now, curlback, so they're pulled all the way in. And you can see there's not a ton, so when you're trying to get underneath something, like with forks, and I wish I had a little bit more curlback to be able to slide the log back. If you get the tips underneath a log this size and try and pick up on it, it's not really going to do it. It's probably not really great for the forks either, to be honest. So I don't do that. But anyway, so one of the things that I would see is, I think the LA525 is rated at 11 or 1200 pounds, and there's another couple of tractors in this class, in this size, that list like 16 or 1800 pounds, maybe even more. I can't remember, it's been a while, but it was a noticeable difference. And so it was hard to figure out, okay, gosh, man, I think I would rather have one that could lift more. But one thing that I when I was kind of thinking these things through, and realized that I needed more curl back, I looked at a couple of the other loaders and actually found they had less curl back, at least the ones I looked at, than the 525. So I realized pretty quick I don't think I would have been as happy doing things like moving logs and all that kind of stuff with it, where you need to get up underneath something and then sort of curl back. I guess sort of my 2 cents with something like this is, just because you can lift more weight, I don't know if it means you should, if that makes sense, especially in a tractor this size. And I think this is one of the heavier ones in this size, to be, if I remember my numbers right anyway. And I've even had it where I was moving one of these logs and kind of got into a little bit of a dip. Not much, I couldn't even really, well, I could see it, but it wasn't much of a dip. And it was enough weight on the front end to pick one of the back tires up and lean me over a little bit sideways. It was a lesson learned, that these things are heavy. I wish I had a scale. I don't know exactly how heavy, but obviously not little little pieces of lumber I'm moving with it. And I guess the gist of it, where am I going with all this, is I guess my hunch is, on a long-term basis, if you're picking up with a tractor this size or lighter, and you're picking up something that weighs 600-800 pounds more than what this can do, I don't know how heavy these logs are, it just seems like you're asking for trouble long-term with putting that kind of weight on a front axle. You know, it may very well be able to pick it up and handle it and drive it, but I just don't feel like for what I have and for what I'm doing, the Kubota is perfect in terms of what it can lift. I feel like it can do it and do it all day long, and I'm not going to damage the tractor, partly because it seems like it's underpowered for the size of the tractor. In all honesty, I say that, but kind of like how this is a 24, 25 horse engine on paper, it doesn't feel like it. I run a 6-foot finish mower over this whole pasture, and you can see it's not the most level pasture in the world, and it does just fine. It doesn't bog down or anything. So, you know, maybe they're under-speccing their loaders. I don't know. But I guess that's the question I would try and get you to ask is just because I can lift more, should I? Is it safe? Is it good for the tractor long term? But also just to kind of see what it can do. So hey, let's hop on and I'll just show you real quick. As you can see, that was actually just at idle. Didn't have to throttle it up, didn't have to do anything to pick that log up. Didn't have any problem. So that's kind of just an example of what this thing can move, what it can do, kind of my take on some of these loader numbers and specs. Could be wrong, I don't think so though. Just my experience is a lighter tractor with a heavier load would just not be as good on the tractor long term, or as safe, given how easily you can tip something like this. If your load is not balanced very well, or you're carrying it up high, which you should never do, at least a heavy load like that. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Hope it was helpful. Hope it helped somebody that's kind of been in the same boat as I was, and thanks for watching.